Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
Writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View.
Alright, this is Jessie. I am so happy to be back with you guys. Alright, first, I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm going to tell you right up front, I am exhausted. Why? Doesn't concern you. And no, it hasn't been station stuff. I've had a lot going on the other away from the microphone the past 24 hours. It's been a busy 24 hours, so I'm going to apologize up front if I don't seem as perky as always. But I want to take you back to last night's show. And if you're a regular listener, you'll remember, just as I was coming on the air, and pardon me, and no, that's not a beer, that is an energy drink. It has been that kind of day. So, if you're a regular listener, you'll know, last night, literally just as I was getting ready to come join you folks on the air, a 5.3 earthquake was detected in North Korea. Now, what makes that astonishing? It wasn't a natural earthquake. This earthquake, the epicenter, happened to be at the known North Korean test site nuclear location. And the South went, that's a nuclear test. The South Korea was the first one, and they were all over the place going, no, this was a nuclear test. North Korea just tested a nuclear weapon. And they had recently launched missiles, if you recall, a few days before that. And I said, yeah, I think it could be a nuclear test. In fact, I think I might have said on the air, it is, in my opinion. Now, you have to pardon me, I'm still shuffling my papers around, trying to find what little teeny tiny bit, this one piece of paper I had in my hand last night. So, I read a story from Yonhap, the South Korean newspaper, just before I got off the air. And it definitely said that they were convinced it was a nuclear test. South Korea has been proven right. North Korea came out somewhere around dawn our time, my time on the East Coast, and said, yeah, we conducted a nuclear test. What of it? Well, they didn't say what of it, but their basic attitude was, yeah. And so, got a few audio clips on that. I will warn you, one of them is lengthy. It is 5 minutes in length. But it is important to hear it. So we are going to take a listen. All right.
The North Koreans saying they've standardized a nuclear warhead. They could now miniaturize it, put it on a ballistic missile. Do you take them at their word?
Well, whether they've done it now or whether they'll do it next year or year after that, it's very clear this is a military testing program. They've had their setbacks. They don't seem to be particularly slowed down by the setbacks. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they've done that. I mean, the real question is not whether they've done it or not. It's what we are going to do about this. I mean, this is a very disturbing development. They're working on a ballistic missile program, including a submarine-launched missile. They've got clearly they've made progress on miniaturization, and before long, I think they're going to have a nuclear warhead on a missile, and I think we have to really look very carefully and see what we're going to do. Clearly, they don't care what we think. They don't care about our admonitions. They don't care about joining the international community. They certainly don't care about UN Security Council resolutions. They don't care what the Chinese think or what the U.S. thinks. So I think we've got a situation now where I'm not sure we need too much more evidence to make a decision here.
What would that decision be, though? Because clearly something needs to be done, but it always gets back to the point, well, what is that something?
Right. Well, I mean, I think there needs to be something more than sanctions. I think we need to sit down with the Chinese, and rather than say, look, China, you need to solve this, or have the Chinese say to us, look, you need to solve it, which they often do. I think we need to sit down and say, okay, together we need to solve this. And I think the solving part has to do with more than just sanctions or public admonitions. I think we have to be looking at the dimensions of their program and what direct means we could take to either slow it down or kill it.
Yeah, there's always a calculation, well, there was under Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un's father, that the North wouldn't carry out any kind of first strike. They wouldn't initiate an attack because that would be essentially regime suicide. Does that calculation still hold with the son running the country?
Well, I wouldn't make too many bets on what he would do in such a circumstance. I think it's pretty clear that nuclear weapons are something they consider very important to their national defense. But I don't put it past them to kind of threaten countries and suggest that they would be prepared to launch a nuclear strike. So I think we will be in a whole world of hurt as soon as they announce they've got a warhead on a missile. So I wouldn't make bets on whether Kim Jong-un would be a reasonable guy. We certainly don't have much evidence to suggest that he is, and quite to the contrary, he seems totally implacable and uninterested in what we have to say about this.
There does seem to be in a situation that we've got to a point where, at least in the West, or with the South Koreans or whatever, that every time there is a test, it's been downplayed. Oh, it wasn't successful, the yield wasn't very big, or there was a ballistic missile launch, it was a failure, they can't bring it back in on re-entry, they can't militarize it. And it seems that for years it's been downplayed. And that, in your opinion, has that essentially been the huge mistake here?
Well, I don't know if it's a huge mistake. It's certainly, I completely agree with your analysis. It's been downplayed partly because people don't really know what to do about it. But what's clear is they are not doing these things to, quote, get attention or to be provocative. This is a military testing program that they have. If they don't succeed in gaining altitude on a missile, they'll see what kind of data they learn from it and do it again. So I think the real issue is that we have a country that is looking to become a serious nuclear country, that is a nuclear country with deliverable nuclear weapons. And I really don't think we can allow that. I don't think this is a matter of just passing more security resolutions. We have Security Council resolutions. So I think we have to sit down with countries like China and go through what could be conceivable options that would physically slow this thing down. I don't know about the prospect at this point of getting the North Koreans to part with these weapons, but there are measures that could be taken, provided there's enough sort of international cooperation on it, to slow these things down and make it hard for them to conduct further tests or develop these weapons further.
So just to be clear, are you talking about military options here?
Yeah, I'm talking about things that we probably shouldn't talk about, yeah.
Okay, Ambassador, we'll leave it at that. Ambassador Hill, very much appreciate you being with us and your insight, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was one of the more interesting pieces of audio that I found on the North Korean missile nuclear test. I have once pulled up Yonhap, the South Korean English news source I usually go to. President Park Geun-hye will convene a meeting of top security and foreign policy officials Friday to discuss follow-up measures to respond to Pyongyang's nuclear test. The meeting is to be convened shortly after her arrival in Seoul following an 8-day trip to Russia, China, and Laos. During her visit, the president called for stronger international unity against North Korea's nuclear and missile programs. The meeting will be attended by ministers of defense, foreign affairs, and unification, and senior presidential secretaries in charge of security and foreign policy. All right. And also, the South Korean government will not rule out the possibility that North Korea may carry out another nuclear test soon. And that came from Unification Minister Hong Young-pyo. North Korea has been preparing a nuclear test, and I think given the related developments, I think they can do another nuclear test soon, Hong said during a meeting at the Foreign Affairs and Unification Committee of the National Assembly today. At the meeting, ruling party lawmaker Cho Kwon-hang underlined the need to acknowledge the grave reality that North Korea's nuclear weapons program cannot be destroyed with current sanctions and pressure. It is time to try a new tactic. Alright. Now, before I get to the last audio clip I have, you got those scorecards? Yeah, you always hear me talk about scorecards on this show. I need a piece of paper because I gotta work this one out. I often have a scrap piece of paper handy when I'm on the air with you guys. What can I say? And no, I'm not saying you guys are scrap. I'm saying sometimes your host needs to have a pen and a piece of paper at the ready. Alright. You've got North Korea. Who are their trading partners? Iran, who up until recently has been almost as heavily ostracized and sanctioned as North Korea, and China. Alright, so we have North Korea, whose main trading partner is China, but they do some interesting things with Iran, especially when it comes to missiles and nuclear programs. I'm willing to bet if North Korea gets it straightened out and worked out, Iran will buy it from them. Do I know this for a fact? No. Have I seen documents to that effect? No. Why do I say this? Because they've swapped scientists. They've swapped... It's well known that the leaders have met. There's too many pieces to that puzzle that are there. Alright, so China and Russia and Iran are propping up Bashar al-Assad in Syria. I know. Wait a minute, we're just talking North Korea. What does Syria have to do with it? If North Korea gets a truly effective nuclear weapon, could Russia go to North Korea either via China, either through China or on their own, and say, "Give me one of those. Here's a whole stack of cash. Here's some weapons you've been wanting. Here's something we wouldn't sell you." They go to Assad and say, "You want to end the ISIS problem? Here you go. Nuclear missile, silver platter. All you have to do is blah, 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 blah." Alright, now, look at that scorecard again. Russia and Turkey are trying to play nice. Turkey is a member of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The United States is a member of NATO. If Turkey is attacked by a foreign power, terrorism is not covered under NATO. But if Turkey is attacked by a foreign power, they can pick up in the phone and say, "We've been attacked." They can activate the provision that says an attack on one is an attack on all. And then we are obligated to go to their defense. Now, Russia and Turkey are trying to play nice, but they're more frenemies. If it's mutually beneficial, they'll tend to kind of play along. Otherwise, not a chance. Nope. Alright. Then, you have the fact that we are using Turkish air bases. And all this revolves around ISIS. Now, nobody likes ISIS. Not even Iran, which I'm grateful for that. But Iran does like Hamas. And the Palestinians over in the Gaza and West Bank, they've got some great ties there. So, North Korea gets that nuclear capability. Iran could go, hey, North Korea, make us a dirty bomb. Remember, our sanctions have been lifted. What was it you wanted? You wanted a couple of our centrifuges to speed up your processing? Sure, no problem. Here you go. I pray I am wrong. But the more I look at these puzzle pieces, the more, and I try and reconfigure them so they don't come out like this. But the more I look at these puzzle pieces, the more I see World War III coming soon. Do I want to be right? Absolutely not. And for those of you who are new listeners to my show, I am a Special Forces widow and I am an Army wife. And trust me, an Army wife's job is never done. Alright. And I will also tell you that no one prays for peace more than the soldier who has to leave his friends and his family behind and go off to fight in a war. No one prays for peace more. I don't know what else to say, how else to explain it. All I can tell you is that no one prays for peace more than the soldier. Trust me, no one does. No one. No one prays for peace more. Do you think that soldier wants to be anywhere from hundreds to thousands of miles away from his home? Do you think that soldier wants to be eating dried food from a bag? No, he'd rather be what they call in garrison, training to defend the country, instead of actually having to pick up his weapon. Now, make no mistake, that soldier will, at the drop of a hat, pick up that rifle, pick up that weapon, and go and defend you or myself on a moment's notice, without any hesitation. That soldier will go fight if they are told to. And I keep seeing these puzzle pieces aligning. And my mind went back to, I've been doing a lot of 9/11 prep work for a special I'm working on. My mind went back to a Bush Axis of Evil speech. At the moment, my brain is full of cobwebs. I'm going to flat out admit that. I don't remember if it was Bush 41 or Bush 43. But man, oh man, it was an Axis of Evil speech. And I'm sitting here going, is this the new Axis of Evil forming before our very eyes? I hate to say it. Yep. It is. I'm sorry. I think it is. We are at the bottom of the hour. My oh my, where does the time go? On that note, we are going to take a commercial break. Gotta pay those bills. Oh yeah, gotta pay those bills. And I will be back with you after the commercials. And we'll talk more about this. And I got a couple other stories. North Korea is not my only topic today, I promise. Alright. See you on the other side.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
Down if you wanna, you can run away if you wanna, you can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna, you can play dead if you wanna, forget what they said if you wanna, turn your back on the country needing you right now, but I don't wanna.
Alright, thank you for hanging in there with me. I am so happy to be back with you guys. Alright, we are already into the bottom half of the hour. My oh my, where does the time go? Now, as if our scorecard wasn't confusing enough. Okay? It's already pretty confusing. We got arrows going in all kinds of directions. Some of those arrows I could not have predicted, my friends. We have a new twist. And I'm going to let the audio of Secretary John Kerry making his remarks speak for themselves, and then we'll discuss it on the flip side.
Today, the United States and Russia are announcing a plan which we hope will reduce violence ease suffering, and resume movement towards a negotiated peace and a political transition in Syria. And we believe that the plan, as it is set forth, if implemented, if followed, has the ability to provide a turning point, a moment of change. The suffering that we have witnessed in Syria over the course of more than 5 years now is really beyond inhumane. People have all seen the pictures: women, children, torture, barrel bombs, gas. And the world has been shocked on a constant basis by what we have witnessed. And we are, I say we, the Obama administration, the United States, is going the extra mile here because we believe that Russia and my colleague have the capability to press the Assad regime to stop this conflict and to come to the table and make peace. If the plan is implemented in good faith, if the stakeholders do the things that are available them to do and are being called on to do, this can be a moment where the multilateral efforts at the diplomatic table, the negotiations could take hold, and you could really provide the people of Syria with a transition. Now, Foreign Minister Lavrov and I have had frequent...
All right. So, it looks like there is a U.S.-Russia ceasefire in the works. Now, give me just a moment. I had the article up. I accidentally closed the wrong tab on my browser. You don't want to see how many tabs are on my browser. So, give me just a moment and I will pull it back up for you. But, alright, so this means Russia is trying to play nice, at least to a point. Now, I'm going to apologize in advance if any unexpected audio kind of sneaks out at you guys. I do my best not to let that happen, but occasionally it does. Especially when I'm loading or reloading web pages. Oh yeah, you know those pop-up ads and all those fun things? Yeah. Alright. The United States and Russia announced a complex, ambitious plan early Saturday in Geneva to halt 5 years of war in Syria for the two countries to cooperate on the fight against terror groups within Syria. The deal calls on all sides to recommit to a nationwide ceasefire, hostilities to end by sunset September 12th, the beginning of the Muslim Eid al-Adha, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it, Adha holiday. We could think of nothing more appropriate than for all the parties to come together and make Eid more meaningful to the people of Syria and the region, said the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, standing alongside Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Side note, I am working on getting the full, unabridged, uncut audio of this press conference. It was not something I could find on the spot. Working together, Russia and the United States and our teams have devised what we think is a more prescriptive and far-reaching approach, Kerry said. If the plan is implemented in good faith, this can be a moment where the multilateral efforts are at the diplomatic table, the negotiations can take hold. You could really provide this people of Syria with a transition. The two countries agreed on steps that would prevent Syrian government forces from flying combat missions where the opposition is present, and over other agreed-upon areas. By all counts, the Assad air attacks have been the main driver of civilian casualties and migration flows, and the most frequent violations of hostilities, Kerry said. Halting all of the regime's military activities in key areas that are defined should put an end to barrel bombs and indiscriminate bombings of civilian neighborhoods. I'm looking for anything from Lavrov. Like I said, I had this loaded. I accidentally closed the wrong tabs. The UN Special Envoy for Syria, Stefan de Mistura, briefly joined Kerry and Lavrov at the podium. He endorsed their agreement and said he would consult with Secretary General Ban Ki-moon before announcing a next round of Syrian peace talks. De Mistura said he expected all parties would facilitate UN efforts to deliver humanitarian assistance to the population in need, including besieged and hard-to-reach areas. The Obama administration has repeatedly stated that there can be no military solution to the prolonged Syrian crisis, which has killed hundreds of thousands of Syrians and displaced 12 million people from their home, according to UN estimates. Alright, the U.S. leads a coalition, blah blah blah. Turkey could prove an obstacle to sustainability of a long-term ceasefire and transition deal. It also opposes any agreement that would allow Assad to stay in power. Turkey said its current military incursion into Syria was launched against ISIS, or IS, Islamic State, but Turkish forces or Daesh, depending on where you are in the world, but Turkish forces have also clashed with Syrian Kurdish forces backed by the United States. Moscow has said it is a serious concern about the Turks' drive across the border and its implications for Syria's sovereignty in the area. Alright, I am looking for a Russian statement on this. I apologize about that. Let's see. Randomly loading one of the articles to see what we can come up with here. Alright. Finally, I got to the RT News site. Two weeks after U.S.-backed Turkish military forces invaded Syrian territory, plans are underway to expand the incursion. This is nothing more than annexation of Syria by foreign forces. It is no coincidence that U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is at the same time pushing his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, to accept some kind of American deal, purportedly for a ceasefire in Syria. The details of this deal remain sketchy, but Washington said it wants Syrian and Russian forces to lift the siege on the strategic city of Aleppo, as well as for American, quote, core objectives to be met. Presumably the latter is a veiled reference to Russia's acquiescing to a political transition in Syria involving regime change. The ironies abound. For a start, Kerry and Lavrov are meeting in Geneva. Geneva's President Wilson Hotel. Okay, whatever. Washington and its European allies have vilified Russia for allegedly annexing Ukrainian territory. Yet the United States and its NATO ally Turkey are flagrantly annexing swaths of Syria's northern province and setting up no-fly zones and building walls along the border. And no, there has been no mention of this in the Western press. I will agree with that. The European Union has remained mute while NATO civilian chief Jens Stoltenberg, on a visit this week to Turkey, endorsed the land grab under the guise of being a security measure. This is in spite that neither Turkey nor the U.S. has a legal mandate for their troops and warplanes operating in Syrian territory. But beyond the doublethink and double standards with regard to Russia and Crimea, what does this de facto annexation of Syria seem to be about? Is the U.S.-led covert war for regime change in Syria has now become overt? Well, I wouldn't exactly say it's a covert-led war. A couple years ago, Obama came out and said Assad must go. It's been about 3 years. Let's see. According to Turkish media reports, Ankara and Washington are planning to extend the military incursion further into Syrian territory. Pentagon Chief Ashton Carter has already held talks with Turkish Defense Minister Fikar Isik on how their joint forces can take the city of Raqqa again. Again, the pretext is one of defeating Islamic State terrorists. But the more important reality is that the U.S. and Turkey are deepening their hold on Syrian territory. A second related development was the high-profile launch this week in London of a peace roadmap by the so-called Syrian opposition group, the High Negotiations Committee, HNC, surrounded by Britain's... Hang on, I lost my place. HNC, surrounded by Britain's Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson and his counterparts from Turkey and Saudi Arabia. And the High Negotiations Council put forward the same old proposition of a ceasefire, political transition, and incumbent elected Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to stand down. Third pertinent issue was the announcement this week by Obama, the administration, that it was extending economic sanctions on Russia. Yes, we are. Over the Ukraine conflict, Russia's top diplomat saying it was hardly conducive to producing dialogue. It's not conducive, it's coercive. Ahead of the talks this week in Geneva, Washington appeared to be equivocating in order to put more pressure on Russia. After Moscow declared that the negotiations were going ahead, the U.S. State Department declined to confirm Kerry's attendance. Kerry reportedly showed up in the Swiss city late for the scheduled meeting with Lavrov. Alright, I have not had time to... I just grabbed it while we were on the air, so I will look into it a little bit further. Yes, I realize our time is waning. Alright, where'd my scorecard go? Where did my scorecard go? I got too much stuff on my desk. That's a given, guys. That's just a given. Alright. One more index card coming up. Yes, I write on index cards quite frequently. I like them. They're small. They force me to make concise, short thoughts. That doesn't mean I don't have more thoughts, but I need to get them short, sweet, and to the point to fit them on a 3x5 card. Alright. Back to North Korea. Just bear with me. So we've got North Korea. They're trading partners. Like I said, we're going with trading partners with them because they don't have many. You've got Iran, who up until recently was almost as ostracized as North Korea. And then you've got China. Now, unlike their other partner, Iran, China is a major actor on the world stage. Make no mistake about that. China is a major world player. Alright. Now, China and Russia along with Iran, are all also propping up the Syrian regime led by Bashar al-Assad. I'm not going to go into which side I think is legitimate, which side I think is illegitimate, at least not at the moment. Alright. Then you have Russia making deals with Turkey. Why is this important? Because the U.S. has troops stationed in Turkey to launch attacks on the Islamic State or Daesh. Then you've got Iran, we're going back to Iran for a minute, sending militia groups into Iraq. Alright, are you with me so far? So Iran is sending troops into Iraq under the guise of helping get rid of the Islamic State in Iraq. Well, then you've got the U.S. sending forces into Iraq. So in a twisted way, and I do mean twisted, on the side, when it comes to Iran, while we aren't out and out supporting Iraq, Iran's helping Iraq, we're helping Iraq. Okay, at least when it comes to getting rid of ISIS, we're on the same side as Iran, and that's kind of spooky. Alright, then you've got Turkey and Russia playing frenemies. Well, we use Turkey air bases. We launch strikes from Turkish territory on a routine, everyday basis. Being stationed in Turkey is a regular thing. There is nothing out of the ordinary about it. Alright, so you've got the U.S. in the middle between, and this just turns into this big convoluted circle with North Korea and Syria sticking on the outside edge. Because you've got Iraq, Iran, China, Russia, Turkey, U.S. The U.S. and Iraq, everybody knows, are on the same side. Turkey and the U.S. are on the same side insofar as Syria. However, we have differing opinions over the Kurds. Turkey and Russia are trying to play nice. Then you have China and Russia. Yeah, they're friends. And then China and Iran are friends. And then you've got China and Iran trading with North Korea. And then Iran comes along and starts sending militia groups into Iraq to get rid of the Islamic State, right alongside American forces in Iraq trying to do the same thing. Whoa. Did I mention we really need a scorecard here to tell the players? Then you've got, I believe firmly at this point that Bashar al-Assad has become little more than a puppet. He is Russia's puppet. Putin wants him to dance, he just starts jerking on strings. And Assad dances to the tune. Then you have the coup attempt in Turkey. Now it was failed. Make no mistake, it failed. It was a very bloody failure. And I'm not talking civilian casualties. I am talking the wholesale kicking out, imprisoning, and removal from jobs of government authorities. We're talking 25 to 35,000 people were either imprisoned or lost their jobs overnight. Yeah, this definitely got to keep a scorecard around for this one. Alright, we are going to venture back to North Korea for the last couple minutes of the show. Now, if you have not listened to Conversations in Science by Dr. Judy L. Moore, please do so. I had a great time recording that episode with her. Because, whether you realize it or not, North Korea does have a nuclear power plant. Well, if you listen to that episode, you'll learn something that I learned. Uranium, be it natural, be it refined, whatever, is thrown into a nuclear power plant. It does its thing. Then when you pull out the waste, do you know what you have? The nuclear waste is plutonium-239. Plutonium-239 is what is used in nuclear bombs, people. Now, I'm sure there are other ways to get plutonium. It is not a naturally occurring substance. Well, at least not in any real quantity. But that's a bit spooky that North Korea is essentially manufacturing the stuff they need to put in a nuclear bomb. Or at least could be, with their nuclear power plant. Alright. I am almost out of time. There it is. I was just looking for my phone. I went back while I was on a commercial break and I started flipping through various articles. And boy, do I have a stack of them. And not all of them got on the air this week. So I decided I was going to pick one that didn't get on the air and do it the last few minutes of this show, assuming I can find it again. Alright, that's all North Korea. That's unrelated. Not even radio stuff. Folks, not even radio. I have other projects going, you know. Alright, U.S. hostage rescue, Syrian safe zone attack, Laos. Where's the one I'm looking for? It's gotta be in here somewhere. It has got to be here. I just saw it a minute ago. Of course, now that I go looking for it, it's run off into hiding. I should have pulled it when I had the chance. But I didn't think about it. Sorry, folks, I warned you, I'm not firing on all cylinders today. Here we are. Found it. And I know I only have a little over a minute or so left. Alright. Uruguay searching for country to take ex-Guantanamo detainee. And this came out on September 7th. Former Gitmo detainee Abu Wal Daib from Syria lies in bed illuminated by a candle because he has no electricity in his apartment in Montevideo, Uruguay. Uruguay's government said Wednesday it is searching for another country to take a former Gitmo detainee who is threatening to die on a hunger strike if not allowed to reunite with his family abroad. Syrian native Abu Wa'el Dahib has reportedly said he is unhappy in Uruguay and demanding to be allowed to leave the South American country, which took him in with 5 other Gitmo prisoners in 2014. For several days now, the Uruguayan government has been making arrangements with different states, especially in the Arab world, so they can take Dahib and he can fulfill his wish and reunite with his family. This is according to Dahib's government liaison, Christian Mirza. The government is trying its best, but it's not that simple. There is nothing impeding Dahib's family from coming to Uruguay, but the former prisoner is against it, Mirza said. We'd have to ask ourselves why his family could not come to Uruguay when the families of other Gitmo refugees came here when they wished. Dahib was briefly hospitalized Monday after he became weak from the hunger strike. He says he feels like a prisoner in Uruguay. They tell me I'm free, but it's not true, he says. Dahib insists he has been on a 25-day hunger strike and has not consumed any liquids for 5 days. But some of his friends and Foreign Minister Rodolfo Novas have said he ate some food last week on a flight when he was deported from Venezuela back to Uruguay. In other words, he tried to run away. That he was at the center of a legal battle at Guantanamo Bay for years because of repeated hunger strikes to protest his indefinite detainment. He gets around on crutches and suffers from health problems related to hunger strikes and forced feedings while in U.S. custody. In other words, we tried to keep him alive. He turned up in Venezuela in late July after going missing from Uruguay for several weeks, which had alarmed officials in neighboring countries and the U.S. and led U.S. lawmakers to scold Obama administration for losing track of him. Blah, 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 blah. All right. So, we released some of the worst back into other countries. And now those countries are saying, we can't do it. We just can't take it anymore. And now they're trying to say, nope, nope, nope. Just shows, in my mind, why we need Gitmo to stay open. And on that note, folks, I'm out of here! For some reason, my audio did not start. Give me just 1 second and we will fix that. I know what I did. I had muted the one where my audio comes out for certain things just in case I bumped into a video online.